today. Let me go ahead and introduce our speaker today. We have Ms. Stephanie Wright, an RN. She has a BS in nursing from Tennessee Technological University, and she currently serves as the Director of Family Services at UCP, providing leadership for UCP outpatient program, children's therapy services, and managing the Hearts and Family Connections program. She has a passion for supporting and strengthening families and has had over 20 years of experience coordinating programs for families of children with disabilities. So Stephanie, thank you so much for agreeing to come on and talk with us today about this very important topic. It may not be applicable to every caregiver on the call today, but I think it's good information to have all the way around so you can share it. You can kind of think about it a little bit, ponder it. And of course, our trainings are recorded. So if there's something you missed today, you can always go back and rewatch it. You can share it. So it's not just a one and done scenario today. Also, if you have any questions for Stephanie during the presentation, feel free to add them into the chat box and we will get to them afterward. Okay. All right, Stephanie, I'll go ahead and let you lead the charge.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. April is Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month, and so we all have a role in protecting our children and helping them have happy, successful lives. So thank you for being here, and I'll go ahead and share my screen. Again, if you have questions, just put them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer those. Again, like she said, I'm the Family Services Director at UCP, so I get to watch families grow and children develop and be successful. So right now we have a play group going on and we have families outside on our playground and they're getting to meet other families and to run and play on our playground. So we're excited to be able to host families and to see children getting to laugh and play in a safe environment. See if I can get this to work. So today we're discussing child abuse and neglect. And so I'm just going to read this one slide. The term child abuse and neglect means at a minimum any recent act or failure to act on the part of a parent or caretaker which results in death, serious physical or emotional harm, sexual abuse or exploitation, or an act or failure to act which presents an imminent risk of serious harm. And so we would want to think that all children are always safe and loved, but sadly there is cases where child abuse and neglect occurred. And so we all have a responsibility to our children to help keep them safe. And so I have been on this grant for 27 years. And so when I first started, I didn't have children. And so I was thinking, why would someone ever abuse or neglect a child? And so while that is hard to think about, then I became a parent. And so just when I did have a toddler and I also had a newborn, I experienced how tough that could be and just going on no sleep and then the newborn crying and then the toddler really needing my attention. And so the stress and the hardship is there. And so what I realized is the difference is I had coping mechanisms to where I could handle that situation. Those frustrations are real, but sometimes parents just need support. They need those coping mechanisms. And so what we hope to do as an organization is to strengthen and equip families to where they have coping mechanisms to prevent child abuse and neglect from happening. See. So what research shows is, well, first of all, child abuse and neglect can happen in any socioeconomic status, any race. It's not just limited to one category. And so any of us could at any time find ourselves in a risk category. So there's different risk factors that we'll go through that can increase that risk, but just wanted to remind you, we're all humans. We can all find ourselves in a stressful situation that could increase our risk. And then towards the end of the presentation, we'll talk about protective factors that we can incorporate that can decrease the risk for child abuse and neglect. So as far as children, research shows that children younger than 4 are at increased risk. And then children with special needs. So parenting is a 24-hour-a-day job, and it can be very stressful. And you add on any type of special need, and that can increase the risk for abuse and neglect. And then as far as the perpetrator, you can see all these risk factors that can increase the risk. I accidentally went a slide ahead. So drug or alcohol use, mental health issues, children that parents that don't understand their child's needs. And when we're going through these, you could also relate that to someone taking care of an older adult with something like dementia or a diagnosis that maybe isn't completely understood. And so as a community, when we go through the protective factors, we'll learn that it's important to understand the disability or the special needs underlying. So you can read those, of course, but low income, one that we could all experience at any time is high levels of parenting stress or economic stress. Again, it's not just limited to one group. At any time, we could all have some of these risk factors. And so you can read through some of those. So some family risk factors would be families that have household members in jail, different families that are isolated and maybe don't have connections with other families, families experiencing other types of violence, including relationship violence, just any kind of high conflicts within families can increase the risk of abuse and neglect. And then, of course, below that are community risk factors. If you have communities with high rates of violence and crime, poverty levels, high unemployment rates, basically, as you look through these, anything that can increase stress can end up increasing risk factors for abuse and neglect. And so, of course, at UCP, we serve children of all abilities, but for our grants, we have two different grants to support families, and it's because children with disabilities have been proven to be at increased risk for abuse and neglect. And then this just goes through some of the reasons why. Sometimes parents can have unrealistic expectation for their child, or maybe a lack of knowledge about child development or the specific diagnosis, and then just different expectations. If you are a first-time parent, and you expect your child to be healthy and without any kind of developmental delay, sometimes it's hard to understand or to deal with that at first. And sometimes age, again, we said the younger the child, sometimes the more the child needs, and so that can be an increased factor. And again, not being able to communicate wants and needs can be a risk factor. And so we have wonderful PTOT and speech therapists at UCP, and it's encouraging to see our speech therapists give children a voice. And so sometimes children that aren't able to communicate their needs, our speech therapists are working with devices that can help give them a voice, and then that makes it easier on the parent and the child. So family factors, sometimes if there's so many different doctor's appointments that cause stress, it can cause marital conflict and domestic violence, financial strains. I know that insurance, it's very expensive for a lot of families. And so at UCP, we try to work with families to help them get the services that they need and try to decrease those strains. So a lot of times parents feel isolated. Again, like I spoke of with our playground, a lot of times families don't feel like they can get out to go out in the public. We have a wonderful playground, and it's fenced in. And so some of the families, they know that they can come here and their children are safe and they can interact with other families. Okay, so this is the important thing. So we talked about risk factors, but risk factors are not predictive factors because of protective factors. And so I really like that, because like I said, we can all have risk factors, but they're not predictive factors because of protective factors. And so what I hope you'll understand is, as a community, we can help people develop coping skills. We can support each other to where we can help keep families and children safe. So research has shown that there's 5 protective factors. Looks like they've added 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't count. It looks like 6 now. But that research has shown will decrease the risk of abuse and neglect. And so nurturing and attachment, knowledge of parenting and child development, parental resilience, social connections, concrete supports for parents, and social and emotional competence of children. So like I talked about, knowledge of child development. So any parent, if they have unrealistic expectations for their child, that can be very frustrating. I guess a simple example would be if you have a 1-year-old that you're wanting to be potty trained. Of course, they're not ready at that developmental age. And so having a realistic understanding of what to expect can decrease the stress of parenting. Or not knowing how to respond to behavior if you're a first-time parent and just need a guidance on how parenting is tough. And so we need to help parents understand expectations of different developmental milestones, and that can decrease stress for parents. So what we can do is, educate and train parents and encourage parents to talk with other parents. I know a lot of times, especially now, it's common for parents to live in a different state or even city or country, even sometimes, as their parents. And so you don't always have your parents educating you. And so trying to meet up with other parents and getting advice and trying to work through those hard things together. We do have different programs. We have early intervention, and we have parents as teachers that are programs that help teach parents about typical child development and how to help their children. So nurturing and attachment, so that starts at a newborn age. And so just really babies need that nurturing and affection, and so they can develop into happy, healthy, competent adults. And consistent relationships in the early years are so important for children. So what we can do, education about the importance of bonding. And there's one thing that I think interferes with bonding these days, and that would be our cell phone. So we need to encourage parents to really be fully engaged with their child, even from that newborn stage and during feeding times, and just really putting that phone down and really bonding with their children. And so they'll have that nurturing and attachment developed from the beginning. So social and emotional competence, interacting positively with others, self-regulating that own behavior, just social and emotional competence. Parents can become more stressed when a child does not respond positively to their parents' nurturing and affection. So I have a question for you. Do you guys handle your emotions appropriately when you get mad? As adults, we need to practice modeling good behavior even when we have a tough time or we get frustrated. Those little eyes are watching us, and so it's important for us to model appropriate responses to even tough situations or frustrating situations. We need to be teaching children how to share and be respectful, and just to help their children express their emotions clearly. We all have big emotions, and just teaching children how to handle those emotions. I think I could sometimes use help with that as well, and remind myself to model appropriate reactions. And then parental resilience, and that's being able to deal with life's ups and downs and knowing how to ask for help. And life stressors can reduce a parent's capacity to cope effectively with day-to-day tasks. And so we can't control what the day holds, right? you can get up one day and it'd be just a smooth, perfect day, or other days you can get all of the roadblocks and different things thrown at you at once. And so just being able to bounce back when those days do happen. So you can build resilience from inner strength or resources. And let's see. So that can look different for each of you. You probably each have different ways that you cope with stress, or that you can have stress management. There's negative ways to cope with situations, but then there's also positive ways. And so here's some examples of some positive coping skills, like exercise, watching television. I guess each of you hopefully have your own thing that you like to do: reading a book, going outside, talking to a friend. And so just for yourself, think about the things that can help you reduce that stress, and really, like Jenny said, put yourself first and take time to care for yourself. It's important for us to take care of us, right? Again, making connections, and just really your perspective of how you see things really goes a long way. So another important one is social connections. Do you have people that you can reach out to, whether it's through a Zoom like this or whether it's face-to-face? It's important to make those social connections. And for parents, they need to be able to take care of themselves as well as their child, and having that emotional, supportive friend that can really be supportive. So you need, hopefully you can develop someone that you can call when you need to just talk, and just making those supports. And again, like I said, we have programs specifically to bring parents together to build those connections. And those are some more things. And of course, concrete supports. Families need their basic needs for food, clothing, housing, transportation. And so we need to help make sure families have those things that they need. And 211, I'm sure you've heard that number before, but if there are any needs, you can call that number and they can guide you to resources where either you or families that you know can have resources to get all of these basic needs. Again, and that's what I was talking about, helping to connect families to those resources. So again, like I said, 2 of the grants that we get are from Alabama Department of Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention. And April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And so we can all play a part in helping to prevent child abuse and neglect for children by helping to strengthen families and to spread the word about child abuse. So they use pinwheels just to represent Child Abuse Prevention Month. And they say this theme is pinwheels of possibility, because all children need to have a successful life. And so pinwheels of possibility. I like that theme. So I have some resources here for you. The big thing we can do as a community is, if you suspect child abuse or neglect, it's our job to report and to help that child. If you are the one that suspect child abuse or neglect, you may be the only voice for that child. And so it's important for us to do our part in the community to just make that phone call. You don't have to be sure of the abuse. If you even suspect it, you can call and they can be the ones to go out and to make sure that that child is safe. I listed the Madison County number, but there's also a national hotline number. And I also listed my email address, because we do have HEARTS Respite and again, the Family Connections program and all kinds of different programs. So if you have any questions about our programs, you can email me and I can get you the information. I also listed UCP's website, and of course, Jenny's always available and has a lot of information about support services. So that's all that I had for today. Let's see.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Stephanie. That was really important information. I hope everybody learned something. And I really appreciate that you went into the whole idea of coping skills, right? Because we can't always choose when those emotions come up, but we can always choose how to respond to those emotions when they do come up. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. If there's any questions that you all have, please feel free to put them in the chat for Stephanie. And of course, if you're wanting to participate in that education stipend opportunity, don't forget to put your email address in the chat. I'll send you that post survey today, and you can fill that out within 24 hours, and I'll get you those stipends sent out to you. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I appreciate your time. This was short and sweet and to the point, and I appreciate that. And so, if like Stephanie said, we do have a lot of resources here within the United Cerebral Palsy umbrella. Includes the HEARTS Respite program and includes some of those services through the UCP program. And Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are multiple UCPs throughout the state of Alabama, correct? We're not just a Huntsville thing.
Yes.
Okay. So if you are not in Huntsville, I know we have one down in Birmingham and things like that, but you can always call us and we can direct you to the right office for your supports. And speaking of supports, I do want to tag on, if you are in the space where you want to maybe have some professional help, if you are having some stress overload, you want some mental health resources, we as Alabama Lifespan Respite and UCP, we do offer free mental health services for caregivers as well as care recipients. So my colleague Kendra will actually see children over the age of 6, okay? But of course, it's a statewide program and it is through telehealth, so there might be some caveats there that you can discuss with her. But if you're interested in those services, please reach out to me either through the website or through my email, which most of you guys do have. If you don't, Stephanie just put up our information so you can give us a call and they'll pipe you through to me. But of course, you can always visit our website at alabamarespite.org and get that information as well. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So Kimberly puts in here that their son was neglected in 2024 in a group home, and I removed him, and now he is at home with me. Wonderful. Glad to hear that. Good deal. All right, everyone. Enjoy the weather while it lasts. We're supposed to be getting some storms this weekend, so everyone stay safe, stay weather aware, get the sunshine when it comes to you, drink your water, take your naps, and reach out if you need any help, okay? All right, everyone. Thank you so much again, Stephanie, and I will see all of you hopefully next week with our last training for the month. All right. Bye, everyone.